Welcome to Conversations. So in today's episode, we have invited Anton Buchner. Now, Anton is quite the creative who, on his life's journey, wrote a children's book, Imagine What Happens Next. It's beautifully illustrated by a professional artist, Sophie Scahill, as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about the book, how we can all become a bit imaginative ourselves. We also are hoping that we can gain a few techniques on being creative and imaginative in the home. Because one of Anton's passions and his aim is actually to connect people, generations, communities, listen to other people's stories, and we will find out how this all unfolds today. So, welcome, Anton.
Hello, Sophie. Thanks for having me.
Let's start by finding out why you chose to get into the competitive market of writing children's books and how this concept came about.
Bit of a crazy idea.
Yeah.
Well, it was a while ago now. I was actually at a barbecue with some friends, and adults were doing things, drinking, eating, kids were running riot, and I thought there's a big disconnection between the parents and the kids. And I'm a father now of 5 children, but at that time I had 3 children. And a thing that I did with my children was telling stories, telling imagination stories, which really connected us together. So I just tried it out in the backyard of this barbecue and got all the kids together, stopped them running crazily around the house and said, guys, let's tell some stories. That's sort of where the germ of the idea came from, that maybe we could engage children and help families.
How did the barbie go?
Well, the food was good, but I think the storytelling was even better because the kids went crazy with their ideas.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It was good fun.
So you are quite creative and a bit of a storyteller yourself. So where did this come from? Was it childhood? You just mentioned your parents.
Yeah, I think I've got 2 sides to me. I've got a creative side. As you said in the introduction, I've come into the marketing world and the advertising world. So that definitely comes from Mum. She's an artist and designer, potter, sewer. So my growing up, I sewed and did tapestry and made pottery and painted. And then Dad is very business, good with numbers, but quite entrepreneurial. So a businessman. And I think I loved maths at school, and I think I've learnt to get into an industry that can be creative and add some flair and also be quite structured around actually running a business or how to promote something.
Wow, you got the mix of 2 different people within you. Very nice. Let's go to the book, and there's writing, illustrating, publishing, promoting. Tell us a little bit how you started to write the book and find an illustrator, because it's really beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Well, as I said, the idea was around imagination storytelling.
Yeah.
So I did that with my children when they were young, sort of 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old age. And the whole idea was I got them to give me 3 words and I would build a story with them. So the whole idea is I'd bring those words or word themes into the story at different stages and let them take control of the story, build the twists and the turns, and really take the story in any direction. So originally, actually, my idea was to take it on TV. One of the people I mentioned when we were having that barbecue said, oh, you'd be great on TV. Why don't you go and create a TV series?
Yeah.
So I had the idea of writing this whole imagination story concept for TV on a Saturday night, family-friendly, grandparents, parents, children, I guess replacing Hey Hey It's Saturday sort of as an idea, and telling imagination stories. But I couldn't get it on TV, so I wrote the book. And I literally just sat down and wrote. 2013, my daughter, 4th child, Anouk, was born, and I had some time at home, and I thought I'll get this concept written down around story starters. So I didn't really want to write a whole book. I thought, oh, that's not my skill set maybe, or time to sit there and write a whole children's book. So I got away with it, I guess, a bit, and thought I'll write the story starters, the first paragraph, and 3 key words, and say, imagine what happens next.
Well, I mean, how clever is that? Because you can reread this book over and over.
Yeah.
You know, it's quite different in that it's a book that won't get old.
Won't get old, and no story's ever the same.
Yeah.
You can take it any way you want. And I needed an illustrator. So I needed, obviously, to bring the germ of the story or the start of the story to life. And I was Googling around looking for sort of illustration style. And in my head, I was clear that I wanted something imaginative, layered, quite colourful and interesting, you know, really to make it an intriguing start of a story and spark imagination in children and parents. A bit of a funny story as an aside, we had, as I said, a baby daughter born. a nook in 2013, and we were looking for a cleaner for our house. And a good friend of mine recommended this lady called Sophie Scahill, who you mentioned in your introduction. She's cleaning around behind me and I'm writing and Googling around looking for images. She happened to stop and say, "Can I ask what you're doing?" Yeah. And I said, "Yeah, Sophie, I'm actually looking for illustrations and an illustrator to bring to life a book." And she goes, "Oh, wow, I'm a designer and illustrator." I went, "Oh, cool." And I'm one of these guys who just goes, if it's serendipitous, let's go with it. So I said, "Oh, this is the style I'm looking for. Do you do a similar style?" She goes, "Yeah, have a look at this picture." And she showed me one picture she'd done on her website, and it was brilliant. I can still remember it. It was a mountain with sort of a serpent or a dragon wrapped around it, but layered and coming out of the page, and lots of colour, lots of vibrancy, lots of texture to it. And I just went, "Great. Soph, can you be my illustrator?"
Oh, that is the easiest way to find an illustrator.
Yeah.
Not that all the other things were so easy, but that's fantastic.
Yeah, it was really serendipitous.
So now, as you are a marketing strategist yourself, how did the publishing and the promotions go and the launch? Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, it was a bit of a journey. Having never published a book, I sort of went, how hard could it be? Let's just publish a book and then sell it to masses of people around the world. I think as anyone listening to this would probably attest, it's not that easy.
Right.
So I learnt lots of trial and error, how to get an ISBN number. I tried to go to publishers to get it published, sending lots of manuscript ideas and the illustration first ideas to them, got lots of knockbacks, and finally went to the self-publishing route. Someone said, "Why don't you self-publish it? And then you can take it to bookstores." Mm-hmm. So I thought, "Oh, okay, that's a cool idea." So I started crowdsourcing a bit of money. I needed a bit of money to print and pay Sophie and get the book actually printed.
It sounds like that's a hard road.
It is a hard road.
Yeah.
But what I learned from that was getting some crowdfunding and some crowdsourcing of, I think, about $1,500 just to help with part of the printing. I then got some fans and advocates who loved the idea. So that really helped once I came to the promotion. I already had a group of people who happily donated some money, $1,000, $1,500, whatever it was, and were invested in the idea, so I could use them to start to help promote
Clever.
as well. So long story short, I got the book printed and then started taking it around to different bookstores. And I landed in Dimmicks in the city, and they said, "Really love the idea. Where do you live?" And I said, "I live down Northern Beaches." And they said, "Go and talk to Dimmicks down in Warringah Mall." And again, serendipitously, took it in to the Dimmicks store in Warringah Mall, and they loved it.
Yeah.
And the lady who's the buyer for Dimmicks just said, "Wow, that's a really cool concept. It's all about connecting families together and getting children and their parents much more connected rather than disconnected." It was about 12 years ago now, so that was all about trying to overcome just giving a child an iPad or technology or a book to go away and read. And my concept was really still just bringing the parents together to spend some quality time with their children telling stories. So Dimmicks were on board, and they became the first bookstore to stock it, and also decided I could run a launch down at Warringah Mall.
I have got a bit of insight to this launch. Tell us how the launch went, Anton.
Fair to say, everything that could go wrong went wrong.
Oh, no.
I think I learned. Well, they offered me a space. If anyone knows Warringah Mall, there's quite a big space near the food court and lots of entertainment. There's a stage, and you can sit there about 50 metres away from the stage and have food, but then you can be on the stage and they have dancers and singers and all sorts of things happening. I looked at it and thought, this is fantastic. It's going to be 10,000 people here. We'll have everyone in layers going, wow, imagination storytelling. We'll have children up on stage, and it's all going to be fabulous. That was my mental image.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it wasn't like that. We ran the sound test. Everything was fine. And then got up on stage, just about to be introduced by the Dimmicks manager, and the sound system failed.
And you had like 250, you had quite a lot of people.
We actually had a lot of people. So I had done a lot of letterbox drops. I put some flyers under people's windscreen wipers. I'd done a lot to promote it on social media, on Facebook and other local areas. So there was quite a buzz, and people were telling their friends about it.
Oh dear.
So we had quite a good crowd of families with their children. But anyone who knows families and children is they lose their attention very quickly. So I had a guy trying to fix the PA, and it was 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Oh dear.
And I'm melting. I'm just going, oh, can't I just go on? Can you find me a handheld mic or something?
Yeah.
And then, no, we'll fix it soon.
Oh.
And I just start watching children leave and families leave.
Oh my
and
gosh.
the crowd dwindle. So, yeah, it was a bit of a disaster. We ended up with probably 20, 25 people right in front of the stage and about 50 people around the edge, about 50 metres away. And no one could hear. Even though I've got quite a loud voice and could project.
Oh my Lord.
They couldn't hear anything, so I just got the children up on stage and got them to choose 3 words and told some stories with them. And it was all good fun, and I sold a few books.
Oh, that's just a little bit traumatic for me. So,
Well, it's all a learning.
yeah, well, that's right. So you decided to keep going. What happened after that?
Yeah, so I ended up selling through a few stockists and had the book sold through quite a few stockists, which was great. The year after, I was then thinking, what could I do next? I was trying to go to libraries, but again, a learning is that I had a section in the back of the book where kids could draw their own imagination figures and characters and ideas. And what I learned is that libraries don't stock books that you can draw in. So I couldn't get stocked in any libraries, so that was a bit of a dead end.
Oh.
Then I was thinking of the TV idea again, and then I thought, maybe I'll take it around schools, smaller areas, and run it as an interactive session as part of the curriculum and as a part of drama or as part of English in schools. So I started doing that.
With Sophie Scahill?
With Sophie.
And how was that fun?
Really good fun, really good fun. I tested a couple of schools first. I created the cow box, which was a dress-up box, probably about 1 metre high, with cow skin around the outside, and lots of dress-up hats and coats and scarves and things. So Soph and I walked into the classroom and started running these interactive sessions. I was sort of facilitating the story, and Soph was drawing on the whiteboard and bringing the whole thing to life. So it was really quite nice. And the whole idea, again, back to the concept, is that it's really trying to connect and nothing is wrong. So I wanted to build storytelling as a yes and idea, that here's my idea and yes and the character can go off into some other leap or some other jump or some other direction. So really these stories took a life of their own.
Yeah.
The kids went off in all sorts of directions.
Yeah.
All the 30 kids in the class or 25 kids in the class got involved. I had kids as trees, some as waterfalls, some as snails. Everyone got a part.
Oh, okay.
And some got, hats on and
Was this for
dress-ups.
drama? What subject was it?
Well, that's a really interesting point. Eventually it became really hard to pigeonhole. It ended up being some in the English class and some in drama classes.
Oh, right.
Because it was, as you say, it's theatrical and it's about getting children up. Not everyone wants to speak, so another learning from me was that not every child wants to say words, so I created characters or made them into characters that they wanted to be. And one goes, I want to be a concrete wall. Excellent, you stand there and you just be the concrete wall. They will try and jump over the concrete wall or something like that.
So when you say 3 words, in your book, they're like actually themes, what's the King Darfield or the pegless peg?
The peggle bugs.
Pedal bugs, there's sort of, it's not just one word sometimes, it's a bit of a theme and then you run with it, yeah.
Yeah, a bit of a word theme. The idea was strictly 3 words. Give me snail, paddle pop and king and I'll make a story. But I think it was word themes, so 3 word themes.
Yeah, okay.
It could be fairy floss or the lost golden goblet, whatever it was.
Yes.
But the kids, would give those words and then we'd just tick them off as we go. And you just had to bring those word themes into the story at any stage.
But how great for them to watch Sophie illustrate it as well as they went.
Yeah, she was amazing.
So it sounds like a lot of fun. For people to do it at home, I actually take art workshops and I get people that go, oh no, I'm not creative, I can't do art. So do you get people going, oh no, I don't have much of an imagination, I can't think up a story?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I was trying to work out the target audience. Was it to the people who were quite theatrical and would happily take this as another idea or another tool in their sort of divvy bag of ideas with their children? Or was it for someone who wasn't that skilled in telling stories like you were saying? And I had really interesting discussions on both levels. But yeah, really it's for anyone who can tell a story. Anyone with a child knows that the child has a vivid imagination. And I think as adults we tend to dumb that down and dampen creativity and imagination. And there's a lot of research that backs up why I wrote the book, which is around creativity and imagination does foster growth in a child.
Wow, your kids are going to be really intelligent if you're doing this every night with them.
Yeah, not just intelligence, like confidence. So it builds confidence, builds resilience. You can bring in themes. So it might be overcoming a problem, overcoming an obstacle. So you can start to bring in adult themes or whatever theme you want to educate your child on in a fun way.
Yeah.
But it's not, pushing it too much at them. It's letting them tell the story and build on it together, and really, again, something I did with my kids that we just have a lot of fun.
So say there's someone a little bit hasn't tried this before. I feel it's a bit like art. The more you do, the better you'd get. And so say a parent that's not really too sure about it, can you do a demonstration or anything? Or
we could do one now. If you want
to
do
one
now. Bring one to life. Do I dare? We haven't tested this yet, but do I ask you for 3-word themes? Maybe we could tell a quick story.
Okay, well, I'm thinking, because I'm into trees at the moment, I'm going to go a dark forest, a surfboard, and a banana.
Dark forest, a surfboard, and a banana.
Oh, I've made that hard.
Okay. Let's start in Fiblet's forest. A dark, dingy forest with vines everywhere. Greens and blues and purples. Very bright coloured plants and trees. And there was a lady called Sophie who was riding her bike through the forest. And Sophie was a quite adventurous character. She suddenly saw this big wave coming towards her. What did she see, Soph?
Well, she saw the wave coming and I've got to get my surfboard. And luckily it was a magic surfboard because I could click my fingers and here was my surfboard and I could surf the wave while I was trying to get through the trees.
Whoa, the biggest wave of all time, coming through like a tidal wave through the forest. But she started to feel hungry. And as she saw oranges and lemons and berries on the side, this giant banana, yellow, luscious banana, was shining from the top of a banana tree. And she grabbed it on the way through, peeled it, ate it, and caught the wave and landed back on her bike.
I have to say that I love the way nothing can be wrong. That's the whole point, isn't it, behind it all? You're good at this.
Well, I think that you're right. The more you do it, the more you feel a bit comfortable.
Right.
But I think anyone can build a bit of a leap on anything. So if it is, your child says, and we had this in the classes, I still remember one, I think it was a chef, broccoli and space. And I had to suddenly get this story. It started in a kitchen and I'm thinking, oh my God, okay, broccoli is easy. I can bring broccoli into it. And then suddenly one of the kids in the class leapt into space and we're having a space fight and all sorts of stuff. So that was great. So the leaps and the twists, nothing is wrong. And I think that's the essence, because kids hear a lot of no. No, don't do this. No, you can't do that. There's a lot of research and I think we say something like 1,500 no's a day as parents. So yeah, another thing was about saying yes.
It's like a kid might draw a bright green pumpkin and the parent goes, no, sorry, the pumpkin's orange, you can't draw a green pumpkin. It's a little bit similar, but it does prove that you can come up with anything and say anything and it can be fun, and the kid could look at the parent and go, whoa, that's different.
Or the parent can look at the child and go, that's a little bit different. Because children have vivid imaginations. We let them go and just try and facilitate the stories. I think anyone listening to this, give it a go.
So let's hope some of you try these at home. It's really fun. Thanks, Anton. I love that your book is so different in that respect, and it's not stock standard and we can read it over and over and come up with more. And it'd be interesting because as you get better, the stories could get wilder and wilder. So I love that. Like we said before, you're really into connecting people, generations, families, communities. You love hearing about people's life stories. So can you just tell us a little bit before we finish of what else you've done or what you might be doing?
Yeah, I do love connection. I mean, I think we don't connect easily with our either local community or neighbours. COVID has probably helped us because we've got back to a little bit of local community. But yeah, connection is really important for me. as an idea. I don't think we connect with the elderly, whether it's our parents or elders in society, that well. A lot of people walk past people, don't help people. So I suppose I've always been someone who's leant forward and wanted to ask someone a question or stop and talk to someone. My partner and I, Nikki and I, we stop and talk to everybody. But yeah, just stopping and asking somebody a question, having the time of day to then listen to the answer is also interesting. So
I've just got this image of you and Nikki walking down the street. Let's just go get a cup of coffee. It'll only take 5 minutes.
yeah, 2 days later,
Yeah.
we're coming back home. It is a bit like that. It's nice to talk to someone. Not everyone wants to talk, but some do want to share a story. And what I love is then hearing people's stories. And everyone has a fascinating story.
Well, you did the podcast on Colourful Characters, so
Yeah.
you found a lot of colourful characters just in your local suburb.
Yeah, it led me to create a radio segment. So
Right.
I created a radio segment on Northern Beaches Radio and then turned that into a podcast series of interviewing
Fantastic.
what I termed colourful characters
Yeah.
because they were.
Will we be able to hear about those? Can we?
You can have a listen to some of the podcasts I've done.
Yep.
Met some interesting people. One was Stephen Jeffries, actually, who down at Manly Beach I was introduced to and had a good chat with. And he was the guy who trained the horses for the opening of the 2000 Olympics.
Oh, fantastic. You
And I
found him where?
Down in Manly,
Oh,
South
right.
Stone.
Okay.
So I go down there for coffees and sit there on the bench and have a swim and have a chat to people. And he was down there one day and was chatting away. He said, yeah, I trained all the horses. Ammo was the key horse, if anyone remembers, or if anyone watched the opening ceremony.
When it
there was
reared
a
up
horse
at
that
the
reared
start.
up at the start of the Olympics. And he's the guy that trained. He's a bit like a horse whisperer.
Wow, right.
Yeah, incredible.
Oh, okay.
So maybe you like to listen to that podcast.
Fantastic. And then because you're such a creative soul, I'm sure you've got something else happening up your sleeve.
Well, there is one thing I'm working on. I'm
right.
working with Karen Sander, who has also a segment on Northern Beaches Radio, but she has launched a concept called Story Room, which I helped work with her in the early days of bringing the concept to life. And again, it's a lovely idea for local community. It's 8 different speakers once a month coming to tell their story. On
So it's
stage.
about
So
connecting again.
Connecting people again. And it's been running for about 1.5 years now.
Really?
Yeah, every Tuesday, once a month on a Tuesday. And she gets 8 different speakers. They talk for about 8 to 10 minutes.
So is it locals or just people?
Yeah, people from all over the place. But she's trying to build that Manly Northern Beaches community. So like you're doing here, I love the idea of building connection. All sorts of people come. I've listened to Pat Farmer talk about going from the North Pole to the South Pole. He's fascinating.
Locally here in...
Yeah, he's a Northern
Where
Beaches
is that
guy.
held?
At the moment, she's at Buckety's. So at Buckety's on an evening,
So you get a beer at the same time?
have a drink, have dinner, you can
Great.
mingle around, then you get a table and listen to some great speakers.
Okay, look, it's just been fantastic talking to you, Anton. Thanks so much. I really enjoyed it. Can you leave us with one inspirational thought?
Ooh. Okay, one inspirational thought. Well, firstly, thank you for having me, Soph.
You're welcome.
Yeah, look, I think the key thing is connecting. So for people at home, try something different, have a chat to someone new, might be a thought. And most importantly, listen to what their story is. I think that let's invest in listening to people more so than talking at people. That to me starts a conversation, starts a connection, starts to build a stronger community that ultimately all of us are hoping to build. So hopefully that's an inspiration for people listening.
It certainly is. Gorgeous. Thanks, Anton.
Thanks, Sophie, very much. Lovely to be here.